Good afternoon. This is Ron March calling out of Detroit. Our 7 o'clock program. We normally use a Texas hookup, but tonight we're going to do it just from Detroit. We're going to talk about an alternative to black history. We have February coming up very soon. We need to prepare ourselves for February. Now, if you need a call-in number on the radio blog is area code 718-506-1864. I'll say it again. Area code 718-506-1864. I may have to do it again in a couple of minutes, but we'll go with that for right now. Okay, I got a couple of callers that's been on. Here's one here. Let's see. Let me see if he's live. Yes, caller, you're on the line. Caller, you're on the line. All right. They may just be calling in to check on it. One more. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Area code 917?
Yes, 917-443. Yes. You have a question or a comment? You're in tune to Ron March Show. Hello?
Yeah, I think they're just listening.
All right, that was you. All right. And then we got my phone at the top. I'll leave that alone. Everybody went to zero. All right. Now, we're going to talk about an alternative to black history. We have a lot of work to do, but thanks to our Creator, He's doing most of the work Himself, meaning times are changing so fast that in order to get up each day, you have to regulate yourself to the new history or the new story that's being told. Every day, there's something new. Those that are completely astute to the changes will get more out of each day than others. But I guarantee you everyone is waking up. We are realizing that what we've been learned and taught in the past does not work today in the future. All of the knowledge and education that we were given does not work. It's not working. There are thousands or a lot, not a thousands, there are a lot of answers that need to be given so that we'll know where we are, where we're going, who we are, and what we're about. So let's start out with who we are. That question is a multi-million-dollar question. Who are we? And I'm speaking of Americans of color. Who are we? I'm speaking of Americans of color. Let's look at it and try and answer that situation. Now, I can tell you that from my study, I know I am a Moor. Why do I know I'm a Moor? Number one, the history that I've searched, the knowledge that have been given to me through my research, the internal feeling I have as to who I am, the greatness that I can feel through my ancestors, the love I have for my people, convinces me that I am not the average Joe. Now, the European very cleverly has labeled the average Joe as a label of being a Negro, colored, black, Afro-American. You can almost name it yourself, what they have labeled us. I will not be called any of those names. Or better yet, I will not answer to any of those names. Every turn of my day that I am forced to question my nationality or the nature of who I am, I will challenge it. That's almost a New Year's resolution that I am going to pledge myself in a couple of days going into 2015. I'm not suggesting that you do it, but I suggest that you give it some thought. You must give it some thought. Your nationality starts within. There's nothing on paper that's going to save you. There's nothing you can pay that's going to save you. Everything starts from within. You must challenge everything that you have had, that you are going to receive. You're going to have to challenge everything that's given to you, everything on the news. Do not take anything for granted. Don't assume you are aware when you haven't studied exactly what you're being aware of. I was given the awakening lesson today, and I have to call it a lesson because this brother whooped me like I stole some chickens. But I had to take the whooping because he was so right on that I just stood there. I came back. Every time he knocked me down, I would come back and just ask for another licking. I defended myself, but it wasn't very good. He was giving me information on words, a simple thing like words. I'll give you one, for example, religion. When I mention religion to you, you're going to go immediately to the good book. You're going to go to the Bible. You're going to go to Jesus. You're going to go to Christianity. You're going to go to whatever persuasion of life you are religiously. You're going to go through all of those frontiers and swear that you know what you're talking about. Well, I will be the first to tell you, you have no idea what you're talking about. Religion is a word that has several meanings. You were taught one in order to place you into a God site or a God type religion or situation so that they could manipulate your mind through the God or the Spirit or the Creator was in you. And you just accept it. You don't challenge it. You don't go and read what it's about. You just accept it. And I'm telling you that religion is a very, very powerful word that has several different meanings. So let's look at one, or better yet, let's look at the definition of religion. Okay? I'm using Wikipedia as a start. You can use anything that you want. It doesn't matter. But as soon as it comes up, we're going to tap into it. And we're going to just explore one word that's on everyone's mind. I think we can work with this word together. And I'm still waiting on it to come up. I got so many things up on my computer. It's taking this time to bring it up. But as soon as I get it, I'm going to read it. Now, here we go. Religion is an organized collection of beliefs, cultural systems, worldviews that relate humanity to an order of existence. Let me read that again. A religion is an organized collection of beliefs. So I guess we can break it down and say we all can agree that religion would be a belief, okay? But let's not immediately take that belief into the house of the Lord, okay? Let's forget that for a minute. Let's take it into a cultural system, who we really are. What is our culture? What do we have in common? What group do we belong to? What is the culture of that group? What types of foods? What types of entertainment? What types of social life does that culture have? Which can easily be labeled a religion. It has nothing to do with a jackleg ass preacher. It don't have nothing to do with a holy house or going to heaven and meet your maker in the by and by. Forget that. I'll read it to you again. A religion is an organized collection of beliefs, cultural systems, and worldviews. What is the worldview of you? Think about that. How does the world view, and I'll use the word us reluctantly, how does the world review us? How do they look at us? Now, I'm telling you now, this corporational system known as United States Inc. portrays us around the world as buffoons, dancers, athletes, drug addicts, and criminals. Dancers, athletes, entertainers, drug addicts, and criminals. That's what the system portrays us as. So I'll ask you, how does the world view you? That is a collective religious beliefs. They believe what they either believe what they're given or they know that what they're given is not true. And yet we are talking about a conversation now that can go on for a long period of time, but never do we have to bring up those jackleg ass preachers. How did that happen? How did it happen that we only know religion as being going to the church? It was by design. They took beliefs and created the concept of Jesus, of Christianity, of the by and by. Then they commissioned big mouth Negroes, big mouth niggas that they could trust, train, and sick on the masses of people and gave them a label as a minister. All preachers get a pass. You never seen a preacher get pistol whipped. You never seen a preacher get a ticket. If you do, that's the dumbest ass preacher that ever put on a pair of shoes and a pair of pants. All they have to do is show them the little badge, the little button they put on their label. Or start talking all that crazy ass talk about thank you, Jesus, and all that bullshit that they normally run that you see. That gives the European a notice to bypass this nigga. He's on our side. Bypass him. Yes, I can't stand them. None of them. Ain't nary one any good. None of them. None of them are any good. And you're going to start looking at it that way. I don't care when you do it, but it's coming. It ain't me that's doing it. I just see it before it gets here. And there's some of people that I talk to can see it before it gets here. They get your money on Sunday. You make a prayer. You start out Monday with your bullshit. And then you go and do all the devilment you want, clean up Saturday night, take a bath, go to church Sunday, pray, drop a nickel or a dime, 10% as your tithes into the bucket, and now you back out to make the cycle all over again. And swear that you're the best Christian that ever put on a pair of shoes. They do the same thing. Every time you see them sending those B-52s and bombers, or you see the mafia as a group, or gangs in the street, black gangs and white gangs, same thing. They all do the same thing. And then they run to the church and ask for forgiveness. I'm even told that judges, this is a Masonic ritual, once a year there's a day set aside for judges. All of the people and persons that they put away in prisons, they ask for forgiveness on a particular day. And they all worship this day. They all give tithes to this day and beg for forgiveness from that so-called God that they have. And then the next year or the next day, they start out another year of putting everybody that comes before them, either you go to jail or you pay money. Not only is this sinful, this is God ungodly, and they're all guilty of it. So let's look at the first one, collection of beliefs. So let's tap beliefs and see where that takes us. We tap beliefs. And we want to know, how does these things relate to humanity? Keep that in mind. What things am I talking about? Beliefs, cultural systems, and world views that relate humanity to an order of existence. Many religions have narratives, symbols, and sacred histories that aim to explain the meaning of life and or to explain the origin of life or the belief in the universe. So a belief system is a set of mutual supportive beliefs. The beliefs of any such system can be classified as religion, philosophical, ideology, or where we at? A combination of these. Philosophers, Jonah Glover says that beliefs are always part of a belief system, and that tentative belief systems are difficult for the tenant to completely revise or reject. Wow. So once you create these beliefs, it is very difficult for you to completely revise them or reject them. Why? Because the belief is within you. And once it's molded into Jesus, molded into a preacher who is supposed to be the spokesperson for Jesus, or molded into a, what would I call it, a organized religion like Christianity or Catholicism or Islamic, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It creates a belief system that's difficult to revise or reject. But I'm not asking you to revise it or reject it. I'm asking you to be aware that it's against you to have those beliefs that they put in you. Yes, you believe in the Creator. I believe in the Creator, but not that trash. I create my own belief system as to what happens to me and what I believe in and which way I go with my belief system. I don't let them mold that trash to me. And all you have to do is look at the Negro history. And it's all surrounded behind or around the fact that some reverend is always involved when there is trouble and despair. And what does he do? He prays that it will lift or it will go away. He doesn't say, we're going to pray to stop it. We're going to go and figure out how this happened to you, and we're going to destroy it so it don't come back again. He comes out of a position of, we got to accept it, love it, and pray that we'll get through it. And since you don't know what the hell going on, you down on your knees looking at this crazy crap. I rejected it a long time ago. Not yesterday, day before. When I was a young guy, I knew something was wrong with that crap. I sure did. But everyone probably had a inclination that something was wrong with the so-called belief system or so-called the religious doctrine that was given to us. We pray, people of color, pray and beg and plead for mercy 1,000 times more than any person of no color. or better yet, in Albion. Seldom do you hear them say, thank God that I'm alive. Hurricane, tornado come through that neighborhood, wipe out everything, tear down the houses, kill all the people, tear up the cars, flood the whole place. You can look at news all day, and you won't hear Jesus or God until they put a blackie on TV. Why is that? Why in the hell is that? The Albion tries to figure out how to build a dam to stop the water from coming. The blackies will sit on their knees and pray that if it rains again, it won't get as high and won't come over the same piece of dam or whatever they got out there to stop. I had run into one the other day in the bookstore. This man had an answer for every damn thing. I'm beginning to be able to pick them jack legs up every time I see one. I was nice. I just listened to him. He gonna tell me he knows everything. He knows that what did he tell me? The 3 kings that were sent here by Jesus. Moses was one. And he had one in the middle, then he ended up with Martin Luther King. And I'm listening for something that's going to gain my attention. I never heard it. So I just asked him one question. I said, do you have any idea why they really killed King when they killed King? What was the motivation to kill him at that time? Have you ever looked at it to see what did he do months before his killing that he wasn't doing years before his killing? He's always been a orator. He's always been a man of the Creator. He never was a Christian. That's another program. But being a man that of the Spirit, he's always been a man of spirit, which he agreed on. I said, well, what did he do? What triggered the Europeans to get rid of him? He didn't know. So I said, did you know that it was discovered through the FBI that Martin Luther King began to meet secretly with the prophet Elijah Muhammad every Saturday? I have pictures of him and the messenger sitting on the couch studying every weekend. That's why J. Edgar Hoover called Martin Luther King a lying bastard. How you going to call a man of spirit of God a lying bastard? Whoever heard of such madness? No one said a word. I recall that clearly. But why did they made it clear if the messenger teaches King the truth, and King with his oratorial approach can gain hundreds, thousands, 10,000s of people to listen with the mindset of the messenger, the European is out of the box ASAP. They couldn't kill the messenger because the messenger was on the right side of the Creator. So what did? They busted the cap in King's ass. Yes, they did. Then they're going to make him, after all the ugly things that were said about him, even after his death, they did a lot of negatives about him. They tried to crucify him. And then they made monuments. They had, they built a lot of, statues and all kind of things, trying to make him be a Negro leader. They did the same thing with Rosie Parks, made her a Negro leader. As long as they can keep us away from our true selves, the identity as to who we are, the longer they can stay in position. The power lies in you. Every one of you out there that can hear me, the power of the destruction or the power of truth that will build you a new world is in you. And all you have to do is search inside, not outside, inside. And you can only search by asking questions. Why is this? Why is that? I had another discussion with a Bible-thumping idiot. And the conversation started out well, but I was holding back. But once a comment was made by her to me, that if Jesus wanted her to know that, he would have told her. I couldn't hold back. What the hell did you say? She said, what you are saying sounds true or sounds logical, but Jesus has to tell me that before I can believe it. I said, I got to get away from this lady. And I mean fast. And I mean ASAP. I said to her, in being a smart aleck, I said, who you think is telling you now? And that really made her mad. She took off running.
Excuse me, Ron.
Excuse me, Ron.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject. If anybody has a question for Ron March, please hit 1 on your dial pad, and we will patch you in to ask a question, or if you have a comment, hit 1. Thank you.
Now, question to you. If they hit 1, will I see it on my board?
Yes, you will. And I'll help you out with that. But as you work, keep it moving.
All right. Good enough. Okay. So what I'm saying is that we are so locked up into this religion by their definition, not ours, their definition, that we don't leave room for us to even search for truth.
Looks like we do have a question in the one of our callers has a question or comment.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going back.
Call 317-970. You're on the air with Ron March.
Yes, I love the way he's speaking, and I've been trying to find my way, and he answered the question that I had in my mind. My name's Irene Williams.
All right, Ms. Williams, what was the question? Can we share it with the rest of the listeners? What was the question in your mind, or what did I say that answered your question? Can you would you help me on that?
About the preachers, how phony they are, and how
yes.
I have asked them different things, about me trying to give my whole self to God so I can change my way. And they really didn't want to talk. All they want and seem to want is my tithes. Also,
yes.
Also, I have called them, my so-called pastors, to talk to me, and they don't give me a call back, And how you was talking about, Martin Luther King and all them, you're really, really good, and you're deep.
Thank you, ma'am. Keep listening, and I appreciate your call and your insight. Thank you very much. All right. Now, that sister brought up another point. Where do these preachers come from? Why is it that, now I was tapped in my life, I've been tapped 2 times by ministers and 1 time by the secret order of the Masons. And each one of them saw in me something that I should go to them in order to get out of the circulation of the people. Well, I was taught when I was, 10, 12 years old. It had to be because the Boy Scouts and all that mess. I was told by my father, don't join a damn thing. Never. Tell your children, tell your daughters, your sons, do not, for sake of your life, never join anything. You can go, you can sit, you can talk, you can be there, but do not join, because they want you to put that hand up and swear that you're going to uphold something that you have no idea what you're swearing to uphold. You think you're holding up the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, or something like that. No. If you read the oath and break it down, you are swearing to something of a God of them, not your God. And once you lock into an oath, they have a right to do whatever they want to do to you. We are right now, I got two things to talk about. I'm going to talk about the police first, and then I'm coming back to them jackleg preachers. Number one, all police officers, I want everybody out there to hear this. All police officers, I'll say it again, all police officers must take 2 oaths in order to become a police officer. The first oath is to the fraternal order of the police department. We'll come back to that. The second oath is to the Constitution of the United States. Now, both of those oaths are quote-unquote blood oaths because the police carry pistols. The judges have to be supportive of the police, so if they don't shoot and kill you, they can put your butt in jail if you defy the oath. Now, let's talk about that. Nobody out there, even including myself, have any idea what the Fraternal Order of Police is all about. All of you blackies out there that call yourselves police officers, you have no idea what you swore into. But one thing you learn real fast, if you open your mouth, you're dead. If you cross any police officer, you're dead. I was fortunate at a younger age. There was a brother in Detroit named Jim Ingram. Jim and I were friends. I was at Dodge, Maine, and he was writing. He had drum beat for you persons here to remember Jim Ingram. Jim and I were close. I really liked that brother. But here's a problem. Jim called me one day and said, right after Alexander Young, Honorable Coleman Alexander Young, who was the first black mayor of Detroit, stayed in office for 20 years till he got tired and retired. The black police officers formed a black union above and beyond the DPOA, Detroit Police Order of Fraternal Order, DPOA, Fraternal Order of Police in Detroit. They formed an organization called the Black Guardian. Jim invited me, and I sit in on the meeting. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know nothing about that. But I listened to those officers, and they all told me, not me, as me, was saying to the group, the problems that they're going to have in forming an independent union. They talked about being killed by the other members of the other police officers. But it had to be done because the police officers had, at that time, and they still got it now, so I know they got it now. Because what's happening in the street, they have to have it now. They got hit squads inside the police department. And when you are selected to do something, you better do it or you're going to be in big trouble. And the trouble can come from anywhere. Promotions, midnight duties, transfer into areas where you don't have any, all kind of crap. You see it on the news, on TV every day. They talking all this crap, put him out there, don't give him any backup, and everybody remembers the movie Serpico. All you got to do is go back and look at that movie. He was trying to do the right thing, and they hit him. They put a contract on him. Clean as a whistle. Yes. Now I'll ask another question. The police, damn, I thought I agreed. For all you people that's complaining about my seat, I greased it, and it's still whining. When I take a break, I'm going to put some more grease on it. Something wrong with it. But I'm going to sit still. I'm trying to sit still. Every time I move forward, it makes noise. Okay, I almost lost my thought. Where was I? I was talking about the police officers. And I can't remember. So let's go, I'll come back to that. So let's go to the ministers again. These old Jack League. I'd love to call them Jack League. They're one of them. Okay. How did they, I know, I got it. Y'all got to bear with me. I'm a senior. I get those clack outs. Boom, boom. It's back. Boom. I'm ready to go. Where does a police officer come from? You don't know. You're going to tell me he's hired. Okay, good. Where does he go to get hired? Where's the employment office for a police officer? You don't know. Okay. So I know where it is. You got to be brought in by another officer because it's a fraternal order. People don't know that. Okay, so you're brought in, you're given a test, and blah, blah, blah. All right. Now, who hires you? Who gives the okay? The chief of police. Okay. Where does he come from? Where does the chief of police come from? He's appointed. The police are hired. The chief is appointed. Who appoints the chief? Well, you're going to try to tell me the mayor. But every time in Detroit, when the mayor wanted someone to be the police chief of police, he was always stopped. I thought the mayor was the top dog of every city. Who's over the mayor? Anybody can tell me? Who would tell a mayor not to do something and the mayor would take heed to it? Think about that for a minute. Who can tell the mayor of Detroit to do yes or to do no? I'll tell you who. Corporations. They'll threaten to pull their stuff out of the city if you don't do what I do. So the corporations really appoint a chief of police. So what we have here is not democracy. It's worse than communism. You don't have any control over your police department. And they're taking 2 oaths. So what is that first oath to? To protect the corporations. It's simple. That's why you don't hear him talking about a solution. They're going to get, I tell you what you're going to see within the next 2 weeks. You're going to see that Lynch, that old Nazi-looking Peckerwood in New York, you're going to see Lynch either resign, get fired, or shut his damn mouth. Why, Ron? Because there's no answer to all this killing. Because nobody knows who controls who. There's no stopgaps on police department. You probably didn't even see 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, the court-appointed attorneys in New York. It was over 560-something of them. They all walked out. They put on the protest Monday morning. You couldn't have court in New York because all the court-appointed attorneys walked out and said that they can't do their jobs because the police dictates to them who goes to jail and who stays out of jail. Now, y'all didn't see that. And they didn't put it on the news. I got it off of a Yahoo homepage. Unbelievable. I said, damn. They come out, they walk out of the courthouses in New York. And they walked to some place and had a little rally. I'm sure they went back to work. But prosecutors cannot do their jobs. Look what happened in Ferguson. Do you think if that cop had stood on top of that boy and shot him in the face 100 times, there was no way for that prosecutor to prosecute or to even indict? There's no way. Why? His wife's a cop. His daddy's a cop. All of his brothers are cops. He lives in a suburban neighborhood that's, what did they say, 87% Europeans. Now you think about it. He was elected to the position of prosecutor. Every one of them was in support of the police because 90%, they keep talking about these damn police officers in New York who turned their back. I'd be willing to bet you that every one of them that turned their back don't even live in New York. Not New York, New York. They'll live in those suburbs. You never look at it like that. Everybody, there's going to be some mess. No, it ain't. Change the law back to home rule. That's a legal process of all municipalities. Home rule is in the Constitution of every state. Go back to home rule and kick every one of them punks out that don't live in the city where they working as police officers. And this madness will stop overnight. Simple. Ken Cockrell, when they was having that big mess in Detroit back with Haywood Brown and some days back in the day, that was in the early 70s, he made this suggestion that we can solve all of this problem. Every 2 years, let's give all the police officers a psychological examination. Do you hear me? They went bonkers. Oh, they went bonkers. Unbelievable. It is madness, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on. But you got people that are not asking the right questions. I don't blame them, but they got to figure out a way to calm down the masses, because the Creator is spiritually feeding truth into the system that's always been there, but it's coming in a little heavier because of the retrograde of the stars and the moon, and we in Aquarius, the era or the age of I know, and all of this is working, and we're going to be in this process for 2,160 years. We ain't even in the early morning. We ain't even after midnight right now. And look what's happened. Look what's happened. So much has come to the forefront that is kind of scary. And this is why they say all of us ain't going to make it. A lot of you niggas out there ain't going to make, you ain't going to be able to get back into the fold quick enough. Because you're not listening to your heart. You rather listen to your pocket or your Johnson, you know what I'm talking about, leading and blah, 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 and everything else goes to hell. You don't give a damn. Ain't no truth in you. But if you don't get on the good foot, as James Brown would say, you're going to be in big trouble. I'm so scared that I'm going to fall off. I just hang on every day I get up. I got to be on the good foot because I know they coming if I make a mistake, any kind of mistake. But I'm here as a warner. That's all I can do is warn you. That's my job. I don't know who gave it to me. I don't know nothing. I'm a high school dropout. I got more up in this noggin at 73 than the average Joe got at 150. And as I get on these airways, I just rap and stuff. Just sometimes it scares me. But let's get back to these jackleg preachers. And we're going to go on into the top of the hour. And I'm looking, and I don't see anyone calling. But if you got any type of, let me do it. You can, I keep missing. Where we at? Okay. I got a chat room, and you can go to the chat room, and you can type in something. I'm looking at it. Flash chat, a chat. I'd love to do that. I'm working on this to get it perfected. So when the first of the year, I'm going to blast. A whole lot of things are going to change with me in regards to my presentations. I'm going to get better at it. I'm going to get all this equipment together, and I'm going to put up a new website. I got that in the making. I'm going to start advertising. You kind of name it. I'm going to try to get there. I want to be the best in the West, not the least in the East. And I'm going to use all of my airtime to deal with it. So when I'm on Tuesdays with Texas and her blog, my blog will also be open. So I'll be here every Tuesday at 7. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Wednesday, I'll be here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The blogger, Beverly D, on Wednesdays, I will also be Ron March a blogger on the same day. So you can just lock in this number, and any one of those days you can call in and get the whole thing. Beverly D has a huge following, and Shira down in Texas, she has her own following, and I'm going to start building my following because I'm going to start advertising on my site. Okay? That's how it's going to work. So here's the timetable. Every Tuesday at 7, every Wednesday at 6, and every Saturday at 4. Wednesdays, Texas, Tuesdays, Texas with Ashura, 7 o'clock. Wednesdays, Detroit with Beverly D. And Saturday is Ron March and Ron March Show. And we're going to work this thing and get it working. I got several callers listening, which is beautiful. And there's no line, nobody wants to talk. But
Actually, Ron, there is. Actually, we have a couple of callers here with some questions. So,
is that what that is, that blue question mark?
We'll talk about that offline, but yeah. All right. We're going to bring in this caller here at 313-918. You're live on the air with Ron March.
Greetings.
Yes,
greetings, everyone. Greetings. How are you?
I'm very good, sister. How are you?
Good. This is
Do you have a question?
This is Chavidi out of Detroit caller. I was just calling to let you know I'm checking out the show.
We're enjoying the show very much. What time will you be on Saturday?
Right. You didn't mention
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock on Saturdays, Detroit time. Yes.
Okay.
6 o'clock Wednesdays and 7 o'clock Tuesdays.
Okay.
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 Thank
you.
And I appreciate you listening. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for calling. Caller 734-829. You're on the show live with Ron March. If you have a question, go ahead.
Yes, I'm just tuning in. I just got the phone number, and I too was asking about what times that you were on the air.
Okay.
I wasn't able to get that last.
Did you get the time?
Right. You said Saturday at 4?
Yes, ma'am. Saturday is at 4, Wednesdays at 6, and Tuesdays at 7.
Okay.
And you can do it on my, you can go to my website or you can go to my talk show. Yes, and you got the telephone number. Lock that baby in, and we're going to give it hell. All right?
I know that's right. Thank you, teacher. All right.
Thank you for your call.
Yes.
Also, if you want to reach Ron March online, you can go to blogtalkradio.com/Ron March Show, and you can get to the chat room that way as well.
All right. That's good. I want to work with that chat room if they start shooting some stuff in there. Okay. All right, well, listen, it's the top of the hour, and I guarantee you, when I come back, we're going to start with the 3 badges, and we're going to talk about the preachers. Where do they come from, and how do they have power to do what they do? So let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll be right back. I hope you enjoy that theme. That's my bump music. That's Jimmy Smith, 1959, All Day Long. James Oscar Smith, J-O-S. All right. Now, I told you that we're going to tap right into the 3 badges, and that's a wonderful information that I discovered through another heavyweight, a seer, Duke of Tears. We discussed it Sunday night. And speaking of Sunday night, there's going to be a special. Oh, Lord, I hope that lady is still listening. There's going to be a special program Sunday night at 9 o'clock. Now, what I gave you was my hours, my program. And I'll give those to you again. That's Tuesday at 7, Wednesdays at 6, and Saturdays at 4. Now, 7 Tuesday, 6 Wednesday, 4 Saturday. Now, this week, because of the holiday, there will be no Wednesday show. We're going to do Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Friday. Hope I'm not confusing anyone. Because Wednesday would be 4th of July. What is it? New Year's Eve. So we're not going to do it on that day. We're going to do it the Friday. And we're going to do it at 7 o'clock. So Beverly D will be with me on Friday, or I'll be with her on Friday at 7 o'clock. Now, she has a special show that she does at 9 o'clock on Sunday. And her special guest will be a seer. He was with her last Sunday. The Duke of Tears. This brother is really, really heavy. The Duke of Tears. And what is going to happen with the Duke of Tears, I will be a co-host with Beverly D, and we will question the good brother Asir. He was looking forward to that. So that's what we'll do. So I hope I didn't confuse anyone with that information. But I'll do it again Friday, and hopefully, if I remember, I'll do it again today when I go off the air. Now, there are several heavyweights, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, I am a kindergarten to some of the information that I've received within the last 30 days. These brothers, and they're young cats. I mean, these dudes is 50 and less. I'm an old codger. And they all admire me because I'm so old, and and most old folks, they kind of give up. But I don't know how to give up. I'm gonna fight. I'll be kicking when I get in. If I don't know if I'm getting in the casket, but whatever happens, I'll fight to the end. Ain't no ifs and buts about it. I don't know what else to do. And I don't consider it fighting. I consider it a way of life. I consider it a religion. Remember what I told you, a culture. And when something just hit me. My wife and I, and son, my youngest son, we went in 1997, we were invited to go to Ghana, Accra, in Ghana. For 11 days we stayed in Ghana. Oh, very enlightening. I mean, it was unbelievable what we did. And maybe I'll do a show and just talk about that trip. I've had several that we need to talk about. I did another one. I am probably the first blackie that you have ever seen or know that did the Mediterranean cruise. That used to be a big deal with the Europeans. Oh, I took the Mediterranean cruise. I took it too. The wife and I, we were on the Mediterranean for 14 days, did 8 protocols. I'll talk about that at a later time. But in Ghana, we met some Ashantis. Now, tell it to you real quick. Accra is the capital of Ghana. And Accra probably, all of them are black native Africans. I'll call them that. Because they all come from different tribes. And they want you to know that they come from a tribe. Don't call them Africans. They don't like you to call them Africans. That's disrespectful. Because they will tell you that I am Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, that type of thing. They'll do it twice. And after that, there's no more conversation because you are an idiot. They can't deal with you. They label you a nigger right away and get away from you. However, when we met the Ashantis, they were fearful people. Everybody was afraid of Ashanti. And if you read the history of the Gold Coast, the Ashantis were the ones that did most of the warlike activities. But we met some Ashantis. And now, in hindsight, I see why they act the way they act. because they are proud of who they are. You'll never capture the Ashanti tribe. You'll never do it. They're too proud of people. And if you think back on, if you're doing any research, any history, let's call it African American history, which they call it, you'll find that when they name tribes, they'll put a label on them, an adjective: a warring tribe, a peaceful tribe, what else they use? A cultural type, a pottery type tribe, stuff like that, to let the European know what they're going to be up against when they run into these people. That's all that's about. But I ran into some Ashantis, and I'm telling you, them dudes, I never saw the woman, but I saw the guys. Them cats were something else. And I portray myself as an Ashanti. Why? Because I'm proud of who I am, and I know who I am, and I try and display myself as to who I am. And it makes me stick out kind of arrogant, but I can back up what I do and say. Okay? And you're going to have to learn how to do that. And it'll come to you as you discover who you are and the power that you have. You're not in America as a Moor, because Moors were all over the earth. You're not in America because as being a Moor, because you was a peaceful idiot or a low-life type individual. No. You're here for a specific reason to be here in Detroit, in the United States, in America at this time. You're here for a reason. And it's a matter of waking up. This is what the European fears so much. He knows that you're going to wake up. He's trying to keep you asleep. And most of you, out of your ignorance, will fight to stay asleep. You want to be in the land of Nod. That's what that's about. The land of Nod. And as long as they can keep you asleep, they can rule. A brother told me today, that brother just wore me out all day. He made it very clear that when it comes to age of growth, the European is only a half to a full day in age. He can never change. Malcolm said it best. The same European that got off those ships at the Plymouth Rock are the same Europeans that was down in Ferguson, that are here in Detroit, that are all over the United States, ruling us. We have thousands of years of knowledge, but due to psychology, laziness on our part, we have been put to sleep, and we have been in the land of Nod. The greatest fear that the European has, and I'm talking about the Albion, the greatest fear he has is not ISIS, it's not Russia, it's not Iran, it's not terrorists, as he tries to label all of them. His biggest fear is you and I. And it's not going to take a gun or a hand grenade or tanks to even deal with us, because all we're going to do is wake up. It's as easy as that. And most of y'all won't even study. How do you study? Read. Ask the question, why am I in this hocus-pocus trick bag? That's the first question you got to ask yourself. Why am I? Why am I born into debt? And don't come up with that punk excuse, well, everybody's born in debt, so don't worry about it. No, it's not. Europeans, most of them are not born in debt. When they talk about bank accounts, they talking $15, $20, $40, $50, $100, $200,000 in their savings account. Hey, hello, you hear me? You have no idea what they're talking about. I met when I was doing my job, my slave. When I was a slave, I met some ladies at a hospital over on DeQuinder in Detroit. Most of y'all know what I'm talking about. It was a foot hospital, foot doctor, whatever they call a foot doctor. And they, you spend the night, they carve up your feet, whatever's wrong with them. But anyway, I delivered milk, and I met some ladies, Europeans, and in conversation they began to talk about some of the problems they were having. One of the ladies' problems was she was not getting her checks from her property in a timely manner. And I caught it and said, well, where the checks coming from? She said, a lumber company. I said, oh, yeah? She said, yes, we get 2 checks a year from this lumber company, and they average anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000. What? I damn near fell on the floor. What the hell are you talking about? She said that she had some land in the suburban areas of Detroit that the lumber company wanted to fence in, and it had water on the land. It was in the teens, so let's say 19 acres. And they fenced it in. And they were cutting down the trees. And they had it planted in such a manner that they chopped trees down twice a year. And they would pay them the market price for the lumber. This chick worked in a cafeteria in a little bitty hospital. She couldn't have been she was in a dietary kitchen. So, I don't have a problem with any of that, but I'm talking about money, capital. And she was concerned. That was one of her biggest problems, that the checks wasn't coming on time. She'd get them, but they wouldn't come when they're supposed to come. I said, all you got to do is have a meeting with them. And then she told me about the contract. I said, well, I'm sure they're violating the contract, as if I know what I'm talking about. I'm in this thing. I'm getting down with the get out. And she's running it, and I'm telling her what to do. And I ain't even telling her I need to charge you for this information. But they all love me. Well, they used to feed me when I come in there. I'd sit down at the tables, and they'd feed me, and I'd deliver the milk and get on out of there. But these are just some of the things that we do unconsciously and don't know it. And these are some of the things that are going on when you look at the life in the United States and the comparison of the Albion and the nigger and the black. Now, I'm going to do, going into January and especially February, we're going to discuss the Albion, the black, the nigger, the Negro, and the mulatto. We're going to definitely discuss this. And you're going to have to know what's going on. Because if I ask you right now, what is a mulatto, you're going to tell me, oh, everybody know that, like you into something. So I say, okay, can you give me a little well, if a blackie and a whitey have a baby, the baby's a mulatto. I said, is that baby black or white? Oh, he's black. Okay. So we can say for conversational purposes that if it's a 50-50 blood transfusion between the two, we're going to get a light-skinned blackie. Broad nose, big lips, big ears, that type of thing. Big lips. Yeah. Okay. So let's say 2 mulattoes have a baby. That same mulatto you just described. But this time, the baby's going to be 80% European and 20% black. What you going to call him? Or it? Oh, now you thinking. I said, I thought you knew every damn thing. You're going to make me look like an idiot because I asked a stupid question, but you can't answer it. So what are we going to call that? Mama called them crazy quilts. What you going to call that crazy quilt? It's a mulatto. And they had a problem with mulattoes. We got problems today. What you think is European is not necessarily European. You ain't never thought about that. I went to a meeting one day and I looked at this white woman sitting there. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, but not blonde hair, but she had blue eyes and pale skin. She was sitting there in this meeting over on Grand River. It was the elders. For you people here in Detroit know about the Council of Elders. I went there and I did a presentation back. I looked at that lady. I said, lady, you're white, you black. Whoa! You could hear a rat urinate on cotton. I didn't do it as a negative factor. I did it because something made me do it. And she looked at me with a smile on her face. She said, I never in my life would believe that a blackie like you could see that I was black. I rolled. She was so nice, it was pathetic. She said all her life she's been trying to be black. She is black. Her daddy was black, and her mama was black. But her mama was light, her daddy was black, and she come out looking like old Peckerwood. She said her life has been miserable. Whites won't take her, and blacks won't take her. I never will forget that. And I said to myself, we as Moors, as a group, or we as Negroes, as coloreds, we got a lot to learn. Because during the Civil Wars, they had to figure out who was white and who was black. Once the South passed a law in 1850 called the Fugitive Act. Y'all look it up. Go look it up right now. If you got your computers, look it up. 1850, they passed a law called the Fugitive Act. And that Fugitive Act gave the slave owners a right to go after their runaway slaves, bring them home by any means necessary. When they got up north, they found that a lot of Albions, quote-unquote, Europeans, quote-unquote, light-skinned mulattoes were passing for white. They said, the hell with this. They bust him in the head and took him back down south and threw him on the plantation. Unbelievable. I can imagine the mess. And we'll deal with that. Going into Negro History Month, that little crap that they used to give it, I'm going to try and blow it off the map. We're going to talk about all these things, and I'm going to take a subject per day or per delivery, and we're going to deal with it. Okay? So now, let's get into these three badges so I can tell you where these jackleg-ass preachers come from. Now, every institution that you can think of, from newspaper carriers, teachers, in the inside, they're all trusts. They all are known as a trust because the paper boys belong to the newspaper trust, and they are paid from the newspaper. So let's take Detroit. We got the Detroit News. Now, we got the writers and the publishers and the editors and the reporters, all that high-priced stuff in the building that are making good money. So the lower we go, from the janitors all the way down to the paper boy that rides a bicycle and throw it, they all belong to the jurisdiction of Detroit News. Detroit News is a bona fide corporation, Inc. Detroit News has bylaws. Detroit News have rules, regulations, disciplinary programs. All the things you can think of is in the corporation known as Detroit News. And everyone that gets a check from the Detroit News have to abide by the rules, regulations of that jurisdiction. Hello? So you can take anything you see. Once you get out of bed in the morning, everything you do in a day belongs to a corporation that has a jurisdiction and bylaws, but one individual. I wonder if y'all can tell me who does not have a trust or a corporation to deal with. You got 30 seconds. No, hell no. It's too much time. You got 1 second. Boom. Answer, you. You are the only ones in America that do not have any credentials of being free. You cannot even think about being free. That's why they can label you with the times of the day. You used to be a spook, then you became colored, then you became Negro, then you became nigger, then you became Afro-American, then you became Afro-American, then African-American, all of that crazy crap. Why? Because you're property of United States of America. That's your trust. Why are you in that trust? Because they labeled you when they wrote the 14th Amendment. Every blackie, I don't care if you're a Moor, a Nation of Islam, what else is out here black? A Mason, it don't matter. You are a nigger on the books. How do you counter that? That goes back to the Ashanti. Ashanti would stand up and tell you to kiss it where the sun don't shine. That does not pertain to me. How many of you ever stood up and told them, I ain't Negro, colored, black, I ain't none of that crap. You got the wrong blackie you fooling with here. I'm a Moor. I'm Apache. I'm Cherokee. I'm Chinese. Whatever you want to be. Nationalities come with declaration. You can be whatever you want to be. And the United Nations, who writes the rules for the earth, said it clear. No country can make you not have a nationality. And you, as a human, can declare yourself to be anything you want to be. I can declare myself right now to be an Eskimo. And a damn thing you can do about it. But we got a little problem. We got these niggas that they'll put on the desk. For example, here's a perfect example. You go get your driver's license. They look at your record and they find that you're not registered. They'll say to you with a smile, some nigga, a nigga on the counter will say, oh, I noticed you're not registered. Would you like to register? No. Stick it up your ass. I don't want it. Oh, okay. Boom. You're gone. As soon as you go out the door, they check, yes, Negro. Within 2 to 3 months, you're going to get a voter registration card, and you don't know how you got it. But you're going to tell somebody in the street, I don't vote. I don't have a voter registration card. But yes, you do. Every 4 years, they're going to reassign you a number. Or not a number, but a application. And all they got to do is check it. When you go get your driver's license, that's what they do. What do they do with register to vote? If you ever look up California legislation rule 220. No, it's 200. I'll find out which one it is. I think it's 200. I got a good brother out there that always check me on that. But I'll find out what it is. It says, and I read it on the air one day, once you register to vote, it gives the municipality any and all rules, regulations of your life that you consent to whatever they do to you and whatever they do with the municipality. So they set up the Detroit and tell you you're going to get a ticket if you go to Belle Isle. Belle Isle's been Detroit's playground ever since there was a Belle Isle. But you don't go because they said you can't go. So how do they do it? They set up police patrols. And everybody that come on the island, they check you for license, marriage license, child support, all kind of negatives. So what happens? In a matter of 24 to 48 hours, no blackies go to Belle Isle. and you are mad, but you never complain, and you can't complain because you got a registration card that says whatever they do, you agree with. And you know you've never read, heard about, or even thought you saw a depressed community vote themselves out of slavery. So why do you keep voting? Hello, are you out there? Why do you keep voting? And then the excuse is made up before the election closes, the ballot closes, and that is, well, we didn't organize. That's one slogan they use. Blacks didn't organize. Number two, blacks didn't have the money. They don't unite and put their money together. Number three, didn't enough of them come out to vote. All of this comes from them bougie niggas that get rewarded for saying shit like that. Who we talking about? We talking about these daggum AKAs, these school teachers, these individuals who belong to all them sororities and fraternal orders. They come out with all kind of crazy madness. Back in the day, every time there was a riot, they were the first one that says, oh, they burn their own communities. They're burning their own stores. Who the hell ever heard of such madness? 1967, when they had the rebellion in Detroit, 12th Street had bars and party stores for miles on 12th Street. Upstairs over that, there were apartments. People lived up there. But they burned up all the stores. You answer the question. Who did that? I'm in the community. I know everybody that live over here in my block. Burlingame, and 12th. I live there. I know everybody over here. I'll go outside, and when I see the cops coming or the Truth 101st Airport, I duck in the shadows. But when I go in the house and go to bed, all of a sudden my place is on fire. Who in their right mind would burn down the party store when people were living upstairs? Next day in the paper, you'll find them jackleg ass preachers belong to this association. That we got to pray to God. We got to pray to Jesus that we won't quit destroying our own property. I don't know why we do that. Who told that nigga to say that? Where did he get it from? He lives way out in the suburbs somewhere. He don't even know where 12th Street is. Nobody questions it. Because everything in the network is pro-network. If you say something out of the network, you get laid off or get fired or don't get promoted or get put down in another area. It's time to wake up. All that crap's got to go. 2015 is a new year. Make it up in your mind right now. You giving all that shit up. You ain't going to buy the bullshit no more. Every time they stick a camera in your face, do like that brother did down south. Am I on TV? He said, yeah, tell them how you like white people. All right, is the cameras on? Yeah. And you just tell them how we treat you good down here. Are we ready? You're on the air. Help! These Peckerwoods are killing me. Cut off the camera. Yes, that's a joke, but it's true. Y'all need to quit all that. And if you see your preacher on the air, check him. If you see one of them jackleg lying preachers on the air talking about something negative about the community, get in his ass. Oh, Lord. Now, where do they come from? That's what I said we're going to talk about. Where does that preacher come from? Back in 1854, the first and only real Civil War. Notice my date, 1854. There was a war between the two huge confederations. The Iroquois Confederation of the South and the Powhatan Confederation of the North. I know y'all didn't know that. Look it up. While you're looking it up, look up Gully Wars. How do we spell Gully? Gully. GULHAL. Something like that. Put it in there. Gully Wars. You figure it out. I'm a high school dropout. I don't know. But I want you to look up the wars that went on between the years 1845 to 1865. And when I mentioned the Gully Wars, the European called them the Indian Wars. And I done told y'all 1,000 times, and I can prove it. There's no such thing as an engine. There's no such thing. The European created that in order to disguise his devious plot to create 1871, the new Constitution. We'll talk about that during the weeks coming up. The Gully Wars, what I want you to look up. Now, let's go back to this Iroquois Confederation. We have been told 140,000 times coming out of Hollywood that the Civil War was fought in 1861 to 1865 by the Confederates of the South and the Union Army of the North. Okay, let's deal with that. What is a confederation by definition? Maybe I should look that up. Like I told you, my computer is I got so much on here, and I'm scared to take it off because I'll miss something and I'm going to need it. But I'm going to try it and look up confederation. Okay. Confederation. Didn't work. Let's try it again. All right. I hit it so hard it changes by itself. There you go. Confederate typed itself out. Mercy. Alrighty. And so we're going to pop it and see if they can bring it up. Okay. Okay. Now listen. I'm just starting at the top. A confederation, also known as confederacy or a league, is a union of political units for common action in relationship to other units. Confederation, also known as confederacy or league, is a union or political union for common action in relation to other. I just read that one. So we're going to drop down to one more. Then I'm going to ask you the big question. Confederation, the act of forming into or becoming part of a confederacy, the state of being confederated, a group of confederates, usually of states or nations, united for a common purpose, a league, confederation, the union of the British North American colonies of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and the Province of Canada, brought about in July 1867 under the name Dominions of Canada. Never heard that one before. The Federal Union of all Canadian provinces. So I don't know. I don't know if we can get around that. But here's the point I'm trying to make to you. A confederation. The Confederation history of the United States, the original 13 colonies of the United States of America, constituted under the Articles of Confederation and superseded by the more formal Union established in 1789. I got to come back to that. So let me tell you, a confederation is or are two or more political units, as they say, who will unite and go against or fight against an adverse confederation, one that's giving them problems. So now we'll go back to Hollywood, and I'll ask. Hollywood said that the Confederate Army were graycoats, and they was all Peckerwoods. And some of them had Negro spies, but they didn't tell you that until later, until we started challenging where it was black folks. Okay? And they talked about the Confederation of the South losing the Civil War. All right. Now, let's go to the other side. Hollywood said the Union Army fought the Confederation. I just read where the North was a confederation of units in the North. So how does that, what Hollywood created with the blue coats and the gray coats, how does that work with a confederation? It don't. Not what Hollywood told us, not what they put in your history books. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you that the original Civil War was fought in 1854, 7 years prior to the date that they gave. Now, who fought in that war of 1854? The Iroquois Confederation. Look it up. The Iroquois Confederation were units in combination with a confederate that created a confederation who united against an adverse confederation who was in the North. Powhatan Confederation, 1854. Noble Drew Ali's grandfather fought with the Iroquois Confederation. He was a full-blooded Iroquois. Or, can't even pronounce the word. Hope that lady don't call up and jump on me. She called it the Algonquian. And she's right. The name. And it's only a change of names because the European could not pronounce it. So he would call it the Iroquois Confederation and say it was a bunch of Indians. That's all he'll call it. Iroquois Confederation. So when you look it up, each one of them was given a name from the Europeans' books. Blackfoot, Mohawk, Algonquin, Cherokee, Creek. I can't name them all, but there were several tribes that created the Iroquois Confederation. Same thing happened in the North. The Powhatan Confederation. There was groups of tribes that united to fight. Why were they fighting? They were fighting because of miscegenation. You can say that in hindsight. They wrote it up as slaves. But your problem, as you have with religion, when I say slaves, you think of, from Hollywood, old Black Joe dragging a cotton bag. That wasn't slaves. You and I can never be slaves. Slaves was a serf name or a class name given to Europeans that came out of the area of Scandinavia. The inhabitants were all in the European districts or European culture. They were all called slaves. That was a title. You hear me? Hollywood made us slaves. And then they put it in the books, the school books. You was a slave. No, I wasn't. They can never make us slaves because if they do, they owe us money. reparations come from being captured and put into a condition of slavery. They will never admit that we were slaves. We had, and I got to find it before February, we had bad work contracts. Now, we worked like a slave. That's why you hear me, I worked like a Hebrew slave. Yes, you did. And the laws were against you by color. You were bound by color to be a Hebrew slave. I know you don't think that's very important, but that is important. Because we, as people of color in US of A, are the only persons on earth that the government passed laws that made us work slaves by law. Then they had another problem by law. Guess what that was? The knowledge of our people they had to get rid of, because two gods or two leaders cannot be in the same zone. So they had to put us to sleep. So they began to pick and choose. He who had a big mouth and had knowledge, they put a contract on. Kill him. They're doing the same thing today. They're doing the same thing today. They're killing these young boys. Same thing. I've never ran into so many young cats in the last 6 months that had knowledge of, wow. I'm looking at the Iroquois Confederation, also called Iroquois League, or the Five Nations. They all started up in 1722, 6 nations. Confederation of 5 and later 6 Indian tribes. There they go again with that Indian crap. In Upper New York State, that during the 17th and 18th century played a strategic role between the French and the British for mastery of North America. Why would they play a strategic role between the French and the British? Because the Indian, quote unquote, the Moor, quote unquote, the person of color, owned America. The British and the French came out of United States. For all of you that don't know, the United States and America are two different entities. They're not the same. I know you don't know that. The 5 Iroquois tribes, considering themselves as people of the Longhouse, were the Mohawk. I can't pronounce them. They got 5 of them in here. Tuscaroa, the last tribe joined in 1722. The Confederacy began known to the English as the Six Nations and were recognized as such as Albany, New York. Unbelievable. You dig
Ron,
it? Yes.
We have 3 minutes left in the show, a little under 3 minutes. So I just want to remind anybody who's listening, by way of Blog Talk, 3 minutes left in the show, a little under 3 minutes. So if you guys want to call in, we have about 2 minutes, 50 seconds left. You guys want to call in, the number 718-506-1864, and you can listen after the show goes off the air.
Okay. And I need them to hit the chat box or ask the questions so I know they're still out there. But
well, the chat will disappear in about 2 minutes here. So if they want to ask a question, again, we reiterate, press number 1 on your keypad, and we will take your question or comment.
All right.
Thank you.
All righty. So I guess I left you hanging, and I didn't mean to do it. but I get to run in my mouth, and I just get hung up on stuff. The 3 badges, we'll start with that on Saturday. We'll talk about the 3 badges because the ministers, quote, pastors, quote, jackleg-ass preachers were given the green light if they would play ball with the European Algonquin. No, not the Algonquin. What's that other one? Albion. If they would play ball with the Albion and unite to create the power tan. You hear me? And they all did it. And they fought against us. That's why they called the North the Union, because it consisted of, the blackies that did not want to participate, the mulattoes who could not participate because they didn't like them on either side, and the Europeans. They united and attacked the Iroquois in 1861 after the Iroquois won the original Civil War. I didn't get a chance to finish that. But the original Civil War was fought and won by the South. And they used Prince Machiavelli concept. And after the war was over, the European united the North and attacked the winners, which was they were wounded because of the war, but they won the original Civil War, but they lost the second Civil War because they were attacked by the Algonquins. Hold on, there I go again. By the Europeans, the mulattoes, and the Indians, or the so-called Indians, or blackies, or Negroes of the South. So if I don't get any calls, we got six seconds, I think they said. It goes off at 9. So remember, Friday I'll be back at 7 o'clock working with Beverly D. Saturday I'll be here.
We will remain in the air, so you can keep it going. It's just the people that were on the line cannot hear any longer, so you can keep it going.
Okay, all right. So I'll talk about the 3 badges, and at the same time, I'll have to tell you that what the 3 badges are. The first badge is called the Emancipation, which is the announcement, only an announcement, that Lincoln, who was a mulatto, hated black people, a mulatto, he announced that slavery would end. And he only announced it because of the Fugitive Act, because the Europeans were very upset because they were getting snatched and thrown into slavery. The second badge was the Emancipation. And the Emancipation is where the ministers come from, because the Emancipation was to be the teaching and the healing of the wounds of slavery. To be emancipated, you were supposed to be healed of the wounds. And there was supposed to be systems and programs set up to help you get out of slavery and get back into a real way of life. But they were not talking about black, dark-skinned citizens, because they did not belong to the United States. They belonged to America, El Maroc. Y'all got to get this information. You got to be able to separate it to understand. So what they did, they used the ministers. Now, the first one of the programs that they set up was called the Freeman Bureau. They were supposed to go out and set up banks, set up financial programs to help compensate, which was the third compensation, was the third badge, They were supposed to set up and help financially for the transition from being a slave and whatever help you needed. And you know, most of them needed psychiatric treatment because of the treatment that they received, because they were treated just like the Americans, which were the enemy of United States. United States, Europeans who were also mulattoes and Europeans saw an opportunity to take over the country, to take over North America, because most of the blacks, Moors, had no idea what was going on the East Coast. Just like most of y'all don't know, probably most of you ain't never been to the East Coast today, or the West Coast, East and West. When I came to Detroit in '64, I worked at Fago Beverage on the east side, and I found out that 90% of the workers lived within walking distance of Fago and had never been on the west side. These are grown people. Never been west. You probably got them over there now. And over here, there's never been east. Never heard of such madness. I know it to be a fact because I was in charge of certain programs. And my biggest problem was fighting the black folks to get them into these programs that would help them, because some of the projects was on the east side, some was on the west side, so I had to end up doing two, one on the east and one on the west. Whew. Unbelievable. If you think I'm lying, I'll ask you a question. Why is it that if you go down any particular street in Detroit, you got gas ranging today, and let's take a 10-mile area going down one street. You got gas prices that range from $1.81 to $2.39. Now, think about that. In a 1-mile radius, you have at least in each block, you got at least one gas station, and some blocks have gas stations on all four corners. So we're talking about two sides of the street, so 20 gas stations right off the bat. So you can figure it out. And yet when you pass the 239 station, people are buying gas. And less than 2, 3 to 4 blocks away, gas is $1.99. How can that be? I mean, and these people live on 7 Mile. They don't leave 7 Mile. When they own these major streets, they don't leave those areas. Most of them are walking distance. So they know that it's cheaper in other areas. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's their problem. They don't. But this is a culture. This is a religion. This is a belief. And it has nothing to do with them jackleg-ass preachers. But what they did, when they set this thing up, the antebellum versus post-antebellum. Y'all need to look up that word, antebellum. They use a cutoff date of 1861. And then they lied and said that that date created what they called Sine Die. Most of y'all probably never heard of Sine Die. So I'm going to lay it on you, and I want you to go look it up. I can spell that. Sine Die. S-I-N-E-D-I-E. Sine Die. It's a Latin word. And it means to disrupt a meeting and do not call for set a date for the next meeting. Anytime you shut down a meeting without setting a date for the next meeting is called sine die. You cannot start another meeting until you shut down that meeting that you're in. And I say shut down, I make a motion that the meeting is over. I second that motion, blah, 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 that type of thing. They call that Robert's Rules of Order. A couple of people told me they never heard of that. Robert's Rules of Order. But we got to look back at the second badge when the European created the ministerial positions and told those niggas that if y'all keep skidding and grinning and teaching your people that whatever happens, don't look at it on the negative, look at it on the positive, that you will receive your reward in the by and by. And here's the Bible that you're going to use to teach this madness. You must teach Christianity. And Martin Luther King's great-grandfather, and any nigger you run into that gives you static about teaching Christianity, we want you to turn his name in, and we will get rid of him. Because the Moors knew that Chris 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 knew